Thank you. So I want to take you back to 1997. I was the general manager of the Whitney Hotel, and for those of you who know it, just down the street, and at the time, it was the only four-diamond, four-star boutique hotel in the Twin Cities. Sometime in March, I woke up in the middle of the night to find my 7-year-old son, there he is, with his head under the bathroom sink, drinking water profusely, and the worst smell coming out of his body. The next day changed my life forever. He was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and what I experienced the night before were the direct symptom of high blood sugar. When we got to the hospital, his blood sugar was 7 times the normal level. His body was completely dehydrated, and the smell that he generated were known as ketones, which is the direct byproduct of his 7-year-old body burning his own fat to create energy. I spent the next 2 years meeting him for lunch at schools to make sure that what he ate met the insulin I gave him in the morning. I didn't like what I saw. Everything that he had on his plate was refined carbohydrate. The last thing he needed was refined carbohydrate. Foot-long hot dogs, canned fruit and heavy syrup, highly processed chicken nuggets, French fries. As a concerned parent, that really led me to look into what we were feeding kids and the impact it had on them. What I discovered is we were about to enter one of the worst health crises in our history. This was just the beginning of the obesity epidemics. Children with cardiovascular diseases were on the rise. Hypertension was on the rise. Precocious puberty was blamed on the hormone in our food system. 70% of all antibiotics was used in animal husbandry, creating a huge health issue. And what we have today is even worse. In the past 3 decades, obesity has risen 300% in children, 360% in teenagers. 30% of our children are overweight, and if we don't change how we feed our kids, 1 in 3 child will develop type 2 diabetes by the time they graduate. 1 in 3. So I don't think that kids are born with a preference for kid food. We've created kid food. Although, as described by Anne Murphy Paul in her TED Talk, there's an emerging science called fetus origin that tells us that fetus have fully developed taste bud after 7 months of gestation. So, in fact, they do have a taste preference when they're born, which is based on their mother's diet. And what we know currently, they would be predisposed to high salt, high sugar, and high fat. That does not mean that they're born with a preference for kid foods. This was just released a month ago by the Center for Science in the Public Interest. And when you look at this, obviously the marketing is really not on healthy food. We've created a whole market for kids' food. It's time we stop treating our children as commodities. They are not a commodity. Yale University conducted a study a while back, and the most recognized word in the world is okay. The second most recognized word in the world is Coca-Cola. Santa Claus is the most recognized icon followed by Ronald McDonald. Kids can recognize over 1,700 products and brands, but have no clue where their food comes from. They think a baby carrot is actually the baby of a carrot. There's a strawberry tree out there. So how did we get there? I mean, there used to be a time people ate food made from food. They sat around a table, they had conversations, we baked cake, we baked cookies, we made soups. Then convenience took over. Microwaves came. The box cake. Why should we make soup? We have a can. Why should I bake a cookie? I can buy a box and it stays on the counter for a month and stays fresh. Mashed potatoes. Instant rice. Do we really need instant rice? When did chicken become a dinosaur, a fry, or a star? Do kids really need to have potatoes in the shape of a smiley face or an ABC? I mean, when did we stop making the connection between real food and health? Schools are not the culprit of the issue, but they were part of the transition. This is from 1975, from Food Service Nutrition Management Research Committee that claimed that fast food gets an A in school food. They went as far to say that fast food mimicked mother's milk because of the same composition of fat, sugar, and protein. And therefore, fast food was good for our kids. Schools can, should, and are part of making changes. We are an element of change, and we need to continue to be an element of change. The school lunch program was started in 1946 by Harry Truman after the Second World War. At that time, we didn't have enough young men to join the army because they were malnourished. Today, we have the same issue. We don't have enough young people to join the army because they're obese. I got my first real introduction into the world of lunch ladies, if you will, in 2002, when my wife came home and showed me a job opportunity at a school district outside of downtown. And both her and my son said, if you don't apply for this job, shut up and never complain about school food ever again. I did, and 10 years later, I started Minneapolis Public Schools. On my first day, this is what I saw from my window out of the office. No cooking equipment, it's a factory. With a little robot, and all that came to my head was oompa, oompa, oompa-dee-doo. And I went home that night and I remember telling my wife, oh my God, I just inherited the Willy Wonka factory. I took my staff down on the floor that week and said, what do you smell? And they said, I don't understand what you're saying. And I said, that's exactly it. There is no smell. Food should smell good, should entice you to eat. Real food is good. Now, there's other issues that we're faced, that I knew we were facing. I had a staff who for 20 years had rethermalizers, which are big, giant oven who reheat the food really slowly, and box cutters. That's all they knew. I also have $3.25 per meal to change how we feed our kids. That is for the food, the labor, and all the overhead. That leaves me $1.25 roughly to serve a complete meal following regulation and my own regulations. The other thing I knew within Minneapolis is that we had no kitchens. There were some kitchens, but they were never used to cook. They were just used to reheat. So all our food was prepackaged, Nothing was fresh. Everything was processed. And if we were a school teaching our kids how to eat, this is certainly not the way we want to do it. I don't know about you, but I can't eat with a spork. And I don't think our kids should either. There was no connection with learning. Then there's USDA regulations. Now, the newest regulations, I have to serve whole grain in everything I serve, only whole grain, and fruits and vegetables at every meal, which I think is great. But manufacturers now have re-engineered everything. So we have whole grain muffins, whole grain donuts. We have whole grain orange dreamy something with orange puree in it, so now that qualifies as a fruit and a grain. But our kids have not made a change in what they eat. I know that kids need a lot more than just books to learn. Food insecurity, malnutrition, processed food all plays a big role in a child education. Our role is to give them all the tools to succeed. And we can only do that by providing them the absolute best quality food that we can. We have to look outside of schools. We can't keep thinking at school lunch as school lunch. We have to start thinking of serving our kids great food in school. I have the largest franchise in the Twin Cities. I run 72 restaurants, serve 40,000 meals per day. So the first thing we did is introduce salad bars, real fresh food, and when we can, source locally. We talked earlier about fruits and vegetables and the requirement. Our consumption of fruits and vegetables has doubled, and part of it is those kids are empowered to take it themselves. We're reconnecting our kids to the food system and what food should look like, not manufactured food. A big issue is the infrastructure, and I'm happy to say that after 3 years, we were able to convince the district for them to understand of the direct correlation between good food, education performance, and the health of our children. Our district has committed to build kitchen in every school within Minneapolis in the next 6 years. So this is true food. That's our slogan, true food. This is a high school meal. Not every school gets this. We still have the pre-pack. We're still working in the direction of building kitchens, but high schools, this is a high school meal. This would be a Minnesota Thursday meal, which the first Thursday of every month, we serve a 100% locally sourced meal. This is fresh turkey, fresh potatoes, fresh butternut squash, and kale salad with a local apple. Part of food is for our kids to understand where their food comes from. It also helps the local economy. It reconnects us with our farmers. It helps the small farmers. So we have a very aggressive farm-to-school program. We have taste tests with local foods. This is some of our farmers. John Peterson down in Cannon Fall has a huge market for his turkey breast, but no one wants his dark meat. So we've partnered with him. We have natural turkey hot dog, natural turkey burgers. We have turkey meatloaf. We make turkey chili. We make a turkey barbacoa. So he wins, our kids win, so we all win. Ariel got connected to us by one of our local chef partner who called us and said, one of my farmers just lost his entire field of kale due to hail. We bought his entire field of kale, and for the first time, kids in Minneapolis experienced kale salad, which we kind of renamed the holy kale because it was full of holes. Ray grows butternut, but half her butternuts are 25, 30, 40 pounds. She can't sell them in the co-op. I take them, we dice them, we roast them. Kids love them. Hoffa, we toured their farm in the summer, And they grew a whole field of cauliflower, and we served roasted cauliflower for the first time this year. Another very important part is the direct connection of our kids with the soil. For them to understand where their food comes from, they need to plant it, they need to grow it, they need to harvest it, deliver it to the kitchen. We had 4 pilot schools this year where we had a garden to cafeteria program. And some of the elementary would sometimes only harvest 2 to 3 tomatoes. Not quite enough to feed the school, but we put it on their salad bar, and they thought the whole salad bar was theirs. So they were so proud of the work they actually did. But none of this could be done without partners. And you often hear it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a community to change our food system. And I'm telling you, this is the community. One of the great things, too, is working with partners for them to understand how they can help schools. I had a wonderful organization who wanted to just give us money to buy better food. And I convinced them that's not the way to go. We need to change the infrastructure. We need to change the food system. Because of that, we now are able to rebuild our entire central kitchen with new equipment. So we're able to do fresh food at the central kitchen for our schools.
So what we do here on the farm is we grow healthy soil. It starts in the dirt to grow healthy plants to help grow healthy people. We love to do what we do, and we love to help people be healthier and live better lives. That's really at the core of what we do and what keeps us going every day. When we eat well, we feel better, we think better, we learn better, we can work better. So eating well has always been really important to us, and we really like to help other people do that too. I'm Ben.
And I'm Erin, and we grow carrots for the Minneapolis Public Schools.
Obviously, one of our farmers. You know, we have a choice. We can change how we feed our kids. And we're going to do that one school at a time, with one farmer at a time. Thank you.